Hey everybody, Ms. Dietrich here. We're talking about an activity from Chapter 9 called Beating Usain Bolt. Before you do this activity, we're insisting that you watch this video. It's about a little less than 5 minutes, and it's kind of fun to watch. But you might be wondering, who is Usain Bolt? So I'm going to tell you. He's actually a very well-known runner. In fact, he's one of the fastest runners that has ever existed. And he can do about 10.4 meters in 1 second. So what race is he well known for? I think he's well known for the 200-meter race. So 200-meter race, I think it's a couple laps around the track. So what we're trying to figure out in this question that Diane is presenting to you, she thinks she can run about 6 meters per second, where Usain can run about 10.4 meters per second. So this blue line in the video, she explains it quite nicely. This represents Usain, and this red line represents Diane. So if we're going to talk about a 200-meter race, you can see that there's no way Diane can win. So the question that she presents is the idea of how much of an advantage, if she's going to give herself a head start, how much of a head start would she need in order to beat Usain? So if we give her a 25-meter advantage, for example, you can see that about 5 seconds in, he's already passed her. If we give her a 50-meter advantage, then looks like a little bit after 10 seconds, he's already passed her. So she proposes in the video, what about a 75-meter advantage? Is that enough? And you can see, according to this graph, that he would pass her at about the 15-second mark. So the question we're trying to answer is, where do we need to put this? How many meters of an advantage does she need to get a head start? So, if he's starting back here, let's see, he's in lane number 3. She's saying that 75 meters, so if she's in lane 4, if she gets that 75-meter advantage and she starts here, that's not enough. All right, so what's a way that we can figure this out? Well, this is the one that she proposed, the idea of a 75-meter advantage. Now, if we finish the double T table here and we put in seconds, so no seconds, she's at 75, where Usain would be at 0. In 1 second, she would already be at 81 meters, where in 1 second, Usain would be at 10.4 meters. So we already know that's not going to work because she told us that. So the question is, what's that number that we need to put in for X? What's going to be, this value, rather, this constant that's going to give her enough of an advantage? So let's take a look at the number 80 as an example. Now we could finish the table, and if we insert in the place of X the number of seconds, we can just kind of keep going and figure out, obviously the race is 200 meters long. We already know that Usain can run 200 meters in 19.2 seconds because she mentions that in the video. Now, what if we just solve the equation 6x plus 80 equals 200? Let's see how many seconds it would take Diane to finish that race. If we go ahead and solve this, what's the opposite of add 80? It would be to subtract 80. We subtract 80 from both sides. We get 120 on this side, and we bring down the 6x. What's the opposite of multiplying a variable by 6? Well, it's to divide by 6. So if we divide both sides by 6, we're going to end up getting 20 seconds. So she has that 80-meter advantage. Then she needs 20 seconds to finish the race. And remember, we already know, and by the way, this is kind of a rounded number, but we already know that he needs 19.2 seconds to go the same amount of distance. So if she needs more time to go 200 meters, then he still wins the race if we give her that 80-meter advantage. What if we bump it up to 85? Now, again, we can finish the table, and we can, do the math here, because this times 0 would be 0. So if we finish that, that would be, she would go 85 meters at the 0 mark. And here you can see that we would be adding 6 plus 85 to get the answer here. But there's a faster way. What's the faster way? Let's solve an equation. So let's slip in the number 85 and try to solve for X. In other words, how many seconds does she need to finish a 200-meter race? What's the opposite of add 85? It would be to subtract 85. And if we subtract 85 from both sides, we're going to get 115 on this side, bring down the 6x. What's the opposite of multiply by 6? It would be to divide by 6. This would cancel out. And if we do 115 divided by 6, we get 19.166666, in other words, the repeating 6, which would round to about 19.17. Now, if we compare that to what they're saying Usain can do, she needs more time, or no, or does she need less time? So is that adequate? Now, another number you can try is the number 86, solve and see. So we're trying to figure out how much of an advantage, and is 85 seconds, is that enough? So if we go back to the graph, 85 was appearing to be enough of an advantage. So if we move, and this is obviously kind of a ballpark where I'm putting this yellow line. So if we say 85 is about right there, see, it still looks like he crosses the finish line. But in order to know, you really have to look at the actual time. Did we solve it? Now, when you answer the questions that are in the form, you need to, obviously pay attention to the video, because she mentions if questions 1 through 4 should be able to be easily answered by just watching the video, but you do need to apply the algebra that I just showed you for 6A, 6B, 7A, 7B, etc. All right, so good luck finishing this up. Watch the video as many times as you need. You do need to solve for 6x plus 86, so make sure you watch the video to refresh your memory on how to solve a two-step equation.